SQL. Download the CSV files kingaku.csv and customer.csv from the website and store them in a folder for your SQL. Open DB Browser for SQLite and select New Database from the menu. In the New Database window in Save As, enter a name for the new database. For example, my_first_ai_ds. Choose a folder so that it will be saved in the SQL folder, and click the Save button to save it. In the Edit Table Definition dialog box, you can create a table definition. For example, just type Kingaku as the table name, and you will see the SQL code for creating a table called Kingaku in the bottom box. You can then go on to define the column names and data types in the middle box, but in this case, since we are reading from a CSV file, we will cancel this dialog box. From File Import, select Table from CSV File. A new dialog box will open. Select the Kingaku.csv file you just downloaded and click the Open button. When the Import CSV file dialog box appears, check the Column Names in First Line checkbox since we want the first row to be the column name, and press the OK button. Then the table Kingaku will appear. To look at the data structure, click on this arrow to see what's inside. You can see that branch columns is automatically assigned to text and others to integer. Since DB Browser for SQLite is a GUI, you can operate it graphically, but since the purpose of this tutorial is for everyone to learn the basics of SQL code, we will write the most basic codes and execute them from Execute SQL. When you have done something wrong, if you have not yet committed any changes, just close the database and all changes made prior will be discarded. Or, if you want to delete a table you have created, copy the table deletion code from the website and paste it into the SQL execute section. This Run button will run all the code written here from the top. Since this is the only code we have right now, this button will execute the code up to the semicolon. Then the Kingaku table will be gone, so let's read it one more time. In File, Import, Table from CSV File, load Kingaku.csv with the first row as the column names as in the previous step. Now import Customer.csv in the same way. Two tables are now included. You can browse the table under Browse Data. Now you can see Kingaku, but you can also check Customer from the table pull-down. Next, we would like to change the column name, Payment, to Amount. Paste the code from the website. Alter Table to change the table Kingaku. Rename Column to change the column name from Payment to Amount. A semicolon ends the code. Now execute the code with the Execute Current Line button, which executes only the selected code. When the message, Execution Completed Without Error, appears, go to Browse Data and look at Kingaku, and you will see that the column name that was Payment earlier has been changed to Amount. In SQL, changes will not take effect until they are written. To finalize changes in DB Browser for SQLite, click Write Changes. Let's continue with the selection, this time using a select statement. In database terms, selection means to select and retrieve records or rows. This code means to retrieve all the asterisks, in other words, all the columns from the customer table, for the row with column number 10847. By retrieve, we mean to retrieve by query, querying the database, without modifying the database. If you want to retrieve all the columns of the table, execute it with the Execute Current Line button. Then the information of the 10,847 persons will be displayed, while the original table remains as it is. Projection, in database terminology, refers to retrieving columns. Let's paste the code from the website, which means to retrieve only 2 columns from the customer table. first underscore name, and family underscore name. When executed with the Execute Current Line button, only 2 columns are retrieved, as shown here. Now let's combine selection and projection to get the 2 columns in the 10,847 record. Paste the code from the website. Upon execution, we find that the name of 10,847 is Chizuru Yamada. Next, paste the join code to join the Kingaku and customer tables and store them in a new table called invoice. The join key for Kingaku is row ID. Row ID is a row number that is not in the column name, but is automatically assigned to each row. The join key for customer is ID. The code means to join the 2 tables so that these match, select all the columns, and store them in the newly created table called invoice. When executed, a new table named invoice is created in addition to customer and Kingaku. Browse the invoice table. You can see that the columns up to amount are from Kingaku, the columns from number to ID are from customer, and they are combined into a single table. Now paste the code from the website for calculation. We want to convert the amount shown in yen to dollars, and then convert it to a new column called dollar. We will define the data for the new column. Since we want to add a decimal point when converting the yen column, which was integer, we want the new column, dollar, to be a floating point number. It is called real. Floating point type was called float in Python, but in SQL it is real. Alter table changes the table definition of the invoice table. Add a column. Name that column dollar, and make its data type real, floating point numbers, and the code is done. Next, update invoice by dividing the amount by 140, the exchange rate at the time this tutorial was created, and putting the calculation results in the dollar column. Run the 2 codes. When viewing the invoice, you will see a column called dollar, the values in which have decimal points. Next, paste the code from the website for making a summary table, which uses group by to calculate the average of amount per branch. Put the averages in the new column named average underscore amount. When running the code, you can see that the values have too many decimal places. It is better to round off the numbers, so copy the code with round from the website and paste it onto the code without round. Run, and then average underscore amount is now to the first decimal place, which is easier to see. Finally, let's do sorting. The code will select all the columns from the table invoice and sort by size of amount column in descending order. Execute the command. You will then see the reordered table. No changes are made to the original data. Changes should often be written by write changes. Now, save the file. If you click on Save All, the SQL Backup project file will be saved depending on your PC environment, and the next time you double-click on it, it will be recreated with the SQL code in it as well. The SQL Backup project file may not be saved depending on your PC environment. If you want to keep the code, create a SQL file with a name of your choice. For example, my_first_AI_ds_code. After saving, close the database and exit.